Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Whoever you are, wherever you are very welcome. Even if you don't support the greatest club in the world, Tottenham Hotspur. But I found someone who does support Tottenham Hotspur. You might know him from a little show called Last Word On Spurs or Sky Sports or whoever he goes on. Ricky Sachs, welcome back. How are you, sir?
Sav, not bad, mate. How are you? Nice to be here without any drama, any kind of craziness, and a fairly quiet international break.
Yeah, or apparently your doorbell's just gone.
Or my
dog,
doorbell's going off. There you go. The beauty of being live. There you go. It all happens
and my
in this
dog
house.
just went mad thinking it's my doorbell. So what a lively start to the show. Ricky, last time we spoke, it was like 3 days before the Europa League final, and the club was in a very up and down state, and it was all going a bit crazy. But things have changed since then, and we're going to talk about that. Let me ask you first of all, Ricky. Look, this is the first one I'm doing of the season so far series. You're the first Spurs fan I'm doing it with. So I'm going to ask you this. A lot of upheaval in the summer, from winning the Europa League to Ange and his backroom staff going, Daniel Levy's gone, medical team have gone, Vinay's now officially in, this person's in, bids have been, or expressions of interest to buy the club are getting rejected left, right and centre. What's going on at Tottenham, mate? Are we in a good place? Are we in an exciting place? Is it BAU? What's going on?
I'm a lot more happy than I was last season, put it like that. I think a lot of people should be happy if they're not happy at the moment. I think at the moment, with regards to where we are club-wise, when it comes to the ownership model, from what we're hearing and what we're seeing at the moment, I think actions are going to speak louder than words, but there doesn't appear to be a willingness at the moment for ENIC, the Lewis family, to want to sell. Now, whether that's short to long term, we'll see in time. I think it all's going to come down to, Savva, you said it so much on your channel as well, in terms of what's the ambition going to be for these next couple of windows. I think we're going to really see genuinely, the Lewis family have been here for 24, 25 years in the background, right? So suddenly, why now do they have an interest or care about Tottenham? It apparently all comes back down to Bilbao and the fact we won a trophy, but it is about action speaking louder than words. Having said that, despite, the summer we had in that transfer window where you were coming on late at night and either breaking stories or breaking down with regards to the failure of getting Gibbs White over the line or Eberechi Eze over the line. It was a classic Tottenham summer to some degree where we missed out on some big targets, but it felt like the profile of player we were going for was of a higher level than what we've seen Tottenham really go for in the last, I'd say, couple of decades. So that's a good sign. But at the same time, I think the next couple of windows are really going to show us what Tottenham want to be and where they want to compete. And I think, again, actions are going to speak louder than words. And I think it's fair to say at the moment, the jury definitely is out on ENIC and what the future holds, because they've been here for 24, 25 years. So how can you really make a judgment at this stage without seeing that ambition? So they did tie down Romero, again, who's, I think we all say, a world-class player. Don't get away from that. He's won trophies for Tottenham, won trophies on the international stage, which, again, is critical to what Tottenham want to be in the future. And I guess we'll see what the future holds for Tottenham. But listen, there's always, even in the quiet periods with Spurs, there's always stuff going on, right? So, yeah.
Of course. I mean, it's almost like we were spoiled as content creators. We were almost spoiled this summer. It was everything happening. It wasn't just transfers. And now that's all finished and we're sitting third in the league. I'm like, I
was thinking you'd been on holiday at the time and then all that kicked off and I'm thinking, how was he on that sun lounger at the moment?
Mate, do you know what? When the Daniel Levy news broke, so I always say to my wife, look, I can't do. There's certain dates I can't go on holiday. Like there's just certain dates you can't do it. I said, look, let's go for the moment the transfer window shuts. It will be quiet. YouTube's dead.
Be quiet.
I literally, I was actually getting up to get my second plate of I was all inclusive. So I was going up second plate, come back, looked at my phone. I had about 25, 30 missed calls in about 5 minutes. And I'm going, what on earth has happened? There's no transfer window. I'm like, someone's dead. Someone's died. And it was, yes, Levy, and he's gone. And I was like, oh, shit. Let's start there. Let's start with the Daniel Levy thing. Daniel Levy left the building. There's lots of inquiries as to, did he walk? Was he pushed? Did he jump? all this kind of stuff. What did you make at the time when that news first came through? I think like Lee, who you work with quite a lot, Lee McQueen had been saying this, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
Did you have a feeling this was happening? Was it a surprise to you?
Well, I mean, to be fair to Lee, I mean, he was telling us for a good kind of 6 to 12 months before that he heard Daniel Levy would be departing the club. But I think it's one of those things that because he's been there for a quarter of a century, and I think when people hear Tottenham, it immediately goes towards Daniel Levy and the failure in relation to getting big transfers over the line or necessarily making wrong decisions at the wrong time. So, I mean, the reality is that for me personally, I couldn't really believe it until he actually was formally announced as leaving. Now, I mean, you've got this situation at the moment, allegedly, I say allegedly from the Athletic, that he's banned from Tottenham, banned from entering the premises. So there feels there's a lot more to that story that we know at the moment. But look, for me personally, I'd be sitting here as a hypocrite to say I wanted Daniel to stay because a lot of us campaigned for Daniel to leave the football club. You know, I can't say I was there at the very start, like the likes of Stelios that you work with very closely as well. And obviously Change for Spurs have been campaigning for a long time for the removal of Daniel Levy. But ENIC are still here. And I think people shouldn't get away from that, you know, ENIC were, for the last 20 years plus, quite happy for Daniel Levy to be chairman and quite happy for him to call the shots. So I think, look, we're never going to really know the inside story of Daniel Levy's exit. We hope we're going to find that out in due course. But I think what it does do for a lot of Tottenham fans out there, it offers hope of an exciting future where I think someone said this to me a while ago with Daniel, that you never really felt with Daniel being at the helm, you were worried about Spurs financially. But if we're going to be real also, you never really thought Tottenham were going to win the league under Daniel Levy's tenure. It just wasn't going to happen. I think it's an exciting chapter for the football club. And I think we all are kind of thinking and feeling what comes next. And that's the big question.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like for half the fan base, Daniel Levy leaving, it was, oh my God, we're going to be amazing. And I kept hearing things like, we've got our Tottenham back. And then very quickly, I jumped into the mold of, hang on, what does that mean? Because like, I'm 42 and I don't know what we've got our Tottenham back means necessarily. But you're right. The proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating, right? The proof of the pudding is going to be, and by the way, not one window. It's not going to be, well, if this January isn't the greatest window ever, then nothing's changed. But January to summer, we're going to see. Was it ENIC? Was it Levy? Was it, you know, are the purse strings going to be loosened? Are we going to keep going for the Semenyos, the Kuduses, the Paulinhas, or are we going to revert to type? And what I suppose from your point of view, what I want to know is, what are you expecting? Like the next two windows, what are you expecting to see completely sweeping changes so that the ENIC kids in their 60s can show that they have changed, that they do want success, and there is a reason why they are rejecting bids?
Well, I think you said it for a long part of the summer into the season that we haven't addressed the left wing situation. We let go Heung-min Son, who was an iconic player for the football club. He got his moment in the sun with regards to winning in Bilbao, but for Tottenham to have not addressed such a critical area of the squad and to be left short in that area, I think you're now seeing, this is why I think Frank's done such a superb job, that he still, for me, hasn't got all the tools available to him to get the best out of what Tottenham could be so far. And I think that's the exciting thing, that there's so much more to come under Frank, which I know we'll come on to. But I think the area that we've left ourselves really short, as you've said numerous times, is left wing. I still have really concerns about our forward line because, with all due respect, I think Tel Odebear, despite Tel scoring against Leeds United, I've got deep concerns that at one point, if everyone remembers, I don't want to age everyone here, but if we go back to even the early 2000s, we had a forward line of Berbatov, you know, we had Defoe, we had Keane, we had Bent, you know, we had forwards that would score goals. And I look at our forward line at the moment, and it's nowhere near the level of what a club needs to be or wants to be if they want to be a consistent side that want to be finishing around the top four and want to aim for higher. So I think the forward area is a concern for me. Dominic Solanke, I think he had obviously one decent season at Bournemouth, but since he's come to the club in typical Tottenham fashion, can't keep him fit. And Cullen Moani, this is the longest dead leg I've ever known in the history of dead legs. So it's Tottenham. It's Tottenham.
I listen, I'm not allowed to say too much about the Tel and Odeberg situation because I get told off by a lot of people that I hate youth and yada, yada, yada. But I'm fully there with you, Rick. As somebody of an older age, I go back. I even remember Clive Allen banging in 47 goals for Spurs.
Yeah.
I can go back to that era. So when I look now at Richarlison and Tells, I'm like, oh.
Well, mate, as your own goals is the top scorer. I mean, I say so. You'll never sing that. Own goals is currently our top. That's the £150 million signing at the moment. The own goals.
There you go. We don't need strikers. We got OG. Look, let's move towards the. This happened before Levy went. Ange left the building. You and I had a chat just before. Would have been a few weeks before, because we had a chat just before the Europa League. And the one question I asked you loads, but the last question I asked you, I believe, in that video was, even if he wins the Europa League, does he stay? And that was the big question, right? And there still to this day, there are many people who are like, well, he should have stayed. Many people going, no, he had to leave. Was the right decision made, Rick? And I know it's easy to say that now with hindsight, but in your opinion, what was your immediate thought when he was sacked, and your immediate thought when Thomas Frank was announced as manager?
I think, look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite, because there was a period after we won the Europa League where I felt, based on the candidates presented to us, I think it was my when Frank was there. I was thinking he's just won the Europa League, and there was such a feel-good factor around the football club. And look, everybody, if they watched Last Word On Spurs at any period of Andy's tenure, I think they're kind of gauging my feelings and the red flags that are concerning me week after week with regards to our defensive deficiencies, right? And I just had massive, massive concerns, as like many people will know out there that watched the shows during that period, if that could be sustainable football, over a long period. And look, to be fair, as I've always said to Ange, I've tried to remain respectful to his tenure. We won the Europa League. He gave me the best week as a Tottenham fan. He gave me and my family the best week, with my young boys at the time, and we celebrated that at the parade, which was absolutely incredible. So you have to say, look, for what that period gave us, a trophy, I'll always be thankful. He will go down as a legend of the football club. But at the same time, I think when you look at the way Spurs are now, for me personally, it even justifies more why we've made the right decision. And I don't mean this disrespectfully to him, but I go into games now and I don't go in thinking we're going to concede 3 or 4. We've got to batter him round the corner. I just don't see that with the way. There's such a tactical detail with Frank going in to every opposition, every team. Look, we're not going to win every week under Frank. It might not be the most prettiest, but you've got a manager there that has studied the opposition to an absolute detail. Everything with regards to what Frank does, it feels he's knowing what that opposition is going to do. And we might not get the results every week, but I already feel really reassured in this early period we're in the right direction. And yes, of course, he had the opportunity in the Super Cup, which was a disappointing one because we were 2-0 up. He made certain changes that I felt maybe on the night could have been perceived as negative, but it is still PSG. But I really hope the fan base get behind the manager, because I really think with the right backing, this guy could be really special for the club. Yeah.
No, listen, I completely agree with you. I was one of the, I would say few, but I was one of the small minority that I really wanted Frank. I like a coach. I like a manager that, when he talks after the game, I think I want to listen. I want to hear your analysis. I want to hear what you think about the game. So listen, I was really pleased. And look, I guess the question when he came in, Ricky, was lots of people said, oh, well, he's only been brought in because he's not used to big players and we're going to go youth again. And then that didn't happen. We had the whole Morgan Gibbs-White scenario, Kudus. Oh, sorry, my dog's just turned off the light with his bum. Thank you. Thank you very much. We had Kudus, we had Gibbs-White, and then there was Paulinho, and we were in talks with Eze and Xavi Simons. And so it didn't pan out like many said. And it actually looks like this guy's got a really good talent ID, right? For footballers.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the signings that have come in, and this is again a reminder why in a summer it's so important to buy at the right level. I think it's fair to say you look at the likes of Kudus that's come in, Paulinho that's come in. Those players that have come in the summer, it feels have all made an immediate impact in the first team. And that's why it's really important that if you buy at that level, and I don't mean any disrespect, the level of Odebear, for example, Tell to some degree. I know Tell was still a lot of money that we bought in the previous summer or on loan with the view to sign. You can see what happens when you bring in proven Premier League players that are ready to hit the ground running and how much they've already impacted the first team. I think, again, that is a telling sign there that if you are willing to spend that bit more money on that bit more quality, you're getting the results. And that's what you're seeing right now. Those players are making an influential difference to our results and, of course, to the first team.
Yeah, do you know what? I always think to myself that I get it, right? You get those certain fans, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way. But you get those certain fans that they want to back everyone, and every young kid is going to be amazing. Everyone's going to be great, and that's great. That's fine. Maybe I'm a bit too harsh the other way. It is what it is. But what I always say is when you bring in a player like that, i.e., let's use Kudus. When you bring in Kudus, you really do realize that all of the debating about is this player good enough, is that player good enough, goes right out the window, because you've suddenly gone from how good is Johnson, how good is Tell, how good is Odegaard, to wow, how good is that's the level.
Technical ability, you can't deny. It's the technical level of players. You look at the difference between that technical ability, bringing a ball down, killing it, running with it. You can see the real difference, with all due respect to the level of player that we've signed this summer in comparison to what's been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, this is where we need to be. The Paulinhas, the Javi Simmons, the Kudus. Now, Mwani, we don't know. For me, I've got my own theory. I think it was very much, I think that the last week of the window, they started to realise Solanke was not going to be fit, and that the injury was a lot worse than they were letting on. And I think this was a panic. This is what happens when you sign a guy that is injured and hasn't had a pre-season. We're seeing that. But
if you remember, Sam, as well, just on that point with Mwani, they tried to sign Mwani before they signed Tell. So which is very telling, if you remember. And now you look at the fact of the Champions League exclusion of Tell not being there. It tells you a lot about the nature of that window we signed Tell, by the fact they wanted Mwani first, couldn't get Mwani, ended up with Tell. Tell is now not in the Champions League squad, which again is really intriguing.
No, absolutely. And then we had the whole scenario, didn't we, to round off the transfer window? We had the whole Willie, won't he, with, I'm not going to go to the Eze one, that's I'm not going there, but the Savio situation,
that was
the
ridiculous.
left wing situation for me.
Spend 2.5, 3 weeks chasing a player to then not know what's going on and then be left, like you've said, short of that area, which is such a critical area of the pitch for us, that left wing. And you can just see now, if we had Kudus on one side and another technically gifted player, pick out Semenyo, because that's the one that everyone I think would love to see. I mean, he is an absolute unit. He's a tank. He's, again, a very technical player, drives with the ball. You've got the Ghana link up as well, of course, him and Kudus. It just feels like it would be an incredible signing. I think you know as well that his release clause is going to be something ridiculous. But again, if Tottenham are a serious club, it goes back to that point I said at the start, Savva. If the Lewis family is serious and want to be here long term and prove they want to show that they are in it for the long haul of Tottenham, that is the level of player you would love to see them signing to give us a genuine chance of competing at the highest level. Because him on one side, like we've said, Kudus on the other, Simmons in the 10, and I will go back to this point, having a genuine, decent striker up front would be superb, would be brilliant.
Yep. I'll tell you what else would be superb. Guys and girls, I bring on Tottenham YouTube royalty and you guys don't hit the like button. Come on, listen, I'm not going to keep asking. And please do subscribe to Ricky's channel as well. I know most of you probably have. If you haven't, where have you been? His link is in the chat and my mods keep putting it in. There you go. So big up to George. Thanks for that, my man. Look, Rick, you're absolutely right. If we use Semenyo as the example, whether it's Savio, Semenyo, whoever it is, if Spurs want to be that big club, they've got to turn around and go, this is our main target. Yeah. What's it going to take? Oh, you want 85 million. Boom. And that's how we need to operate. And we're going to see if we do. Just one player I want to ask you about before we move away from the transfer window and move to the results. A lot of talk in the last 24, 48 hours about a very interesting character, Ivan Toney. Now, this bloke, Rick, this is who I wanted instead of Solanke. I'll be brutally honest. This is who I wanted. Reports that he could be available, especially on loan. You've got the connection with Thomas Frank. He knows the Premier League. He's exactly what we've not got in terms of a hold-up player. He's brilliant in the air, great with penalties, knows where the back of the net is. Where are you with Ivan Toney, the sort of striker you'd like to see come in January?
I think at the moment, when you look at our forward line or lack of forward line, it's an area that I feel that we need to improve. I think the concern would be is can we afford to have 5 strikers on the book and also make that work from a registration perspective? I think you'd have to see one go out for one to come in. And you're right about Frank. You've got no doubt about his quality. I think, again, people look at the Saudi League, Al Ali. I think he scored, 30 goals there last season in 44 games. So he still knows where the back of the net is. And again, Premier League proven, worked with Frank before. Feels like a no-brainer. Obviously, we spoke a lot about Visser in the summer as well. Another player that Frank knew very well and ended up at Newcastle. These are players that know the way Frank wants to play, know the way he likes to operate them in attack. It feels like a no-brainer, but I think the only way that he comes in is if you do see one of the forwards depart. And would Richarlison leave Tottenham in January during a World Cup year? I'm not too sure. That, again, is a difficult one. And he's playing regular football. And that's the thing with Richarlison's body. I just don't think he's even used to playing regular football. And that's why you're seeing the level of, even the recent few games, the touch of the ball. It's like he's trapping a bag of cement, Richarlison. So, and I even think with Odebear, for me, I think he needs a loan. I would try and get him either a Premier League loan or a loan to a club on a European stage where he's going to feature and have some decent football inside him, because I just, no disrespect to him, young player, but I just don't see him at the level where he's going to really influence games right now in a Tottenham shirt. So back to your point, we'd love to see Tony come in, but I think the only way Tony comes in is if another forward goes out the door. And that's, again, we don't even know what's happening with Moani. We need to see how Moani's going to play. Yeah. God knows what he's going on that dead leg. Like I said, no idea.
I completely agree with you. See, I think if Tottenham are going to be a top team, I want to see the likes of Odebear and Gray and Tell, for me, send them out on loan for a year where they're going to play guaranteed each week, and you bring in proper ready-made players. I'm all for youth players, but it comes back to that question, Rick. What do you want to be? Right?
Exactly.
And the teams that win the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Chelseas, the Cities, these teams that have been there for 20 years winning everything, they're ruthless. They're ruthless. They're not playing Tells and Odebears, and with all due respect, they're not. No. So we'll see. But let's move to. Let me just do a quick super chat. Big up to you, Emma. Big up to you. Your holiday came to an end, did it, in Spain? They all come to an end, Emma. And they're the most depressing days of the year, aren't they, when you come back from holiday? But I hope you and whoever you went with had a great time, and you're back on Teesside, which I'm sure is bloody freezing today, because it's bloody freezing where I am and I'm not up north. So big up to you, Emma. Thank you very much. Rick, so season is about to start. We have a couple of brilliant pre-season games, i.e. Arsenal. We have an utter humiliating game, i.e. our mate Harry Kane and Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
And I think at that stage, everyone wasn't really sure what to expect going into the season. And most people predicting PSG going to give us a right hiding. How are you feeling at that stage before the PSG game? How are you feeling our chances for the season and what we were going to see?
Probably dictating the mood on here that we need to do more in the transfer window. I think it just showed really the squad needed support, needed help, and Xavi Simons came in quite late in relation to obviously where we wanted number 10 to come in. I think at that point, forgive me, I think we were either licking our wounds over Gibbs White or Eze. I can't remember which one it was at the time, because that summer feels again classic Tottenham, where we were targeting, I suppose, differently to the past. I said, higher profile players, but quite simply couldn't get them over the line. So I think there was an area of concern of the fact that I always felt Frank was going to improve us on 17th, right? There was no doubt about that. But it was a question of, are we once again going to not be giving the manager the tools at the start of the season to get the most out of it? Because when you sack Ange Postecoglou, whatever you think about that decision, the club are the ones, not the fans, can I just say, that said, we want to compete on all 4 fronts. And as fans, we are sitting there knowing, well, this club can't compete on all 4 fronts. That's why, whatever you think about Ange Postecoglou, what he did, he decided to go down one route because he knew it was impossible to compete on all 4 fronts. So I think we'd all safely say now with a squad, I mean, can it compete on all 4 fronts? I still feel, for me, there's areas that need to be improved
massively
to compete on all 4 fronts. I don't think we can get away from that. But look, I'm going to be honest with you. If you go and bring in 3 or 4 top quality additions to this squad, suddenly I'm thinking, yeah, we can, because I look at the top of the league, and I will come on to it. No one's been playing outstandingly well this season. That's, again, the excitement for Tottenham, that this is a real opportunity this season to really propel ourselves back up the league, where, again, I'll mention that. I didn't expect us to finish 17th, but also, I'll be honest with you, Sam, I know we'll probably come on to it.
Yeah.
I didn't probably expect Tottenham to be even in a conversation for top 4 because I'm aware of just how difficult it is to go from 17th even back into the top 6. It's the Premier League, right? And again, for a long period, fans have been used to losing games. And that's why, again, I've had a real excitement. We're winning games. We're not getting beat. I think we've come behind in 3 games to at least claim something. But as we know, I mean, a lot of fans out there, it is a lot down to the style of play, which is a big factor, I guess, when you are spending a huge amount of money to go to that stadium, which, again, let's be clear, me and you we don't set the prices for. You know, the club are the ones that set the prices for that.
Sure. No, absolutely. By the way, big up to Kate and Jim. I love the way that big up Savva. Oh, and lovely Ricky. So Ricky gets Ricky gets a describing word and I just get big up Savva. Thanks, Kate. I know it's Kate because Jim doesn't give me kisses. So thanks, Kate. No, look, and I think this is the key thing. And I've probably bored my viewers to death with this, Ricky, in the first 2-3 months of the season. This is why I was so frustrated that we did not go that extra mile in the window.
Absolutely.
We made some good signings, but this is why I said Son, right time to go. For me, I don't like the revisionism of we should have kept Son. For me, that was the correct decision.
Agree. Agree.
But not replacing him for me. I said it was negligent. People get frustrated with me. Me and Sean Butler on Spurs Talk Show, we always go back and he's like, it's not negligent. It is negligent to leave our left side with how weak it is.
Yeah, like you said, he's a captain, key area of the first team. Absolutely. I mean, it is an area where we must have thought Sonny's coming towards an end. We must have players in that area. We must be looking at as replacements. So we didn't address the area. So on that point, I agree. It's negligent of an area of a squad that's so important to not bring a player in, especially when you see the impact Kudus has made on the other side. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And this is where I'm at with it. I don't know about you. I think that for Spurs to, I say, compete on all 4 fronts. I mean, look, you know, I'm never thinking that Spurs are going to do the quad, but to compete in all 4 competitions respectably, I think we are 3 or 4 away. And that is a striker, a proper, the fact that we all debate Solanke, Richie, tells you that none of them are good enough. The fact
we never ever debated Kane, did we? We never ever sat there and said, "Oh God, Harry Kane should be on the bench."
We never debated Kane. We never debated Sheringham or Keane or Defoe or Berbatov or you know what I mean. If I want to go back to olden days,
of course.
I think we are a striker, a left winger, a ball playing number 8 to play alongside Paulinho. And I still think, sorry, if I don't know your feelings on this, Rick. So, and I still think a top goalkeeper. I think if we got those 4 players in,
you know, I've been saying this now for weeks with Vicario. You know, I was saying just on him quickly. I was saying at some point we're going to have a conversation on Vicario, and I feel like since I've said that, I mean, I know I've seen a few people online suggesting that the last few games he's been unlucky with some deflections, but I think people are also missing the point. It's not just that area. There's a number of areas which are a massive concern with Vicario, where for me as a goalkeeper, I think Roy Keane said this, you know, you've got to come with violence. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean actual violence on the pitch. What I mean by that is, you know, to have someone that is dominant of the 6-yard box. And Vicario, for me, there feels like there's a panic. Even though Frank has massively improved defensively from set pieces, every time that ball comes into a box, there's a flapping nature to him. And look, I'm not saying he's to come out and claim every corner like Schmeichel, but there's got to be an element where you feel there's a reassurance there. My keeper is going to come and either punch the ball out further enough so it's not going to keep coming back, or also just take the ball and be more commanding. And I've just got really reservations that we're not in the first season or the second season. We're now in the 3rd season of Vicario. And you have to ask yourself the big question, is he going to get any better? That's what you have to ask yourself. That we're 3 seasons in. Is he going to get any better? And
not a young keeper anymore.
Exactly. And I think for me, Frank, although I know he's put him in the leadership group, remember out there, he also has put Ben Davies in the leadership group. I think Ben Davies will probably see the least amount of minutes out of anyone. Touch wood, we don't get injuries this season, which who knows, of course. We've got to get past match day 10 against Chelsea. But yeah, Vicario for me is a worry. And I think if Tottenham, again, want to be that club that are going to be in and around competing for the top 4, I think we're going to have to look at that area. And that's not me being personal against Vicario. I think, again, he's really bought into Tottenham as a club. I know his mum and dad are obviously down there on a match day. But purely on ability, I've got my doubts. And I've got big worries about him. And I hope Tottenham are already doing due diligence on other goalkeepers.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm of the same opinion. I just think, listen, first of all, I don't think we should expect too much, and I want to move on to that now for the last 20 minutes. Lots of Spurs fans, I feel like we are all very, very, all of us. I'm not including or excluding anybody. All of us are probably a little bit strained as to what do we actually want. It's 2025. What do we actually want?
Yeah.
You know, loads of people want gung-ho football. Loads of people want pragmatic football. Loads of people want to win a league. Loads of people just want to win a cup. All these different things. Right now, I'll tell you what I want, Ricky. You tell me if you agree with me. And feel free to not. I want a year or two where there's calm. I want a year of calm where there's not managerial changes.
Yeah.
Where there's not, oh my God, we've lost 10 games in a row and we're bottom half. Oh my God. I want a year where we bring in sensible players. We let a manager actually build something, knowing there's going to be a few ups and downs in the road. And I think already what I'm seeing, and you said to me offline, I'm sorry, when we were
go for it. You're fine.
We were talking about, it's mad how there's a portion of this fan base still, when I'm watching YouTube channels, that are talking about Frank as though he's on probation, that are talking about Spurs. We've not been good to watch, and it's not good, and I don't like. We're never happy, I suppose, is my point, Ricky. But what do you want? What do you want in this next couple of years?
Well, I mean, look, you know as well from doing it. We give up a lot of our time to do YouTube in the first place, and to do obviously podcasting, and But number one, you've got to watch the game, which again you do it to an audience when you do it. I'm watching it. If I'm at the stadium and I come back and do the podcast, I want to obviously go there and enjoy winning. I mean, look, for me, I have been a fan that has grown up, named after Ricky Villa, my dad, bless him. So there's this part of me that wants attractive football, but at the same time, this is no disrespect to the last regime. I also went through 22 defeats and probably the toughest ever period producing podcasts last season, where again it was really, really tough. And I think I am enjoying winning at the moment. Is it the most prettiest? Is it the most swashbuckling? No, but also I didn't expect the manager to have all the answers after 11 games of football. I just didn't expect that. And again, with Frank as well, to be balanced and to be fair, Frank is not a manager that is renowned for playing attacking football. He just isn't. Now, will that evolve? Will that change? Will that grow? We'll have to wait and see. I always think as well, with better players enables you to play better football. And I think, like we spoke about in the first part of the show, if people are judging him on the brand of football, well, then judge him by what he's got to work with, like the Tells, the Oda Bears, like Johnson, bless him. I think with Johnson, again, he's another enigma in this fan base. He scored the winner in the cup final. He's, Tottenham's top goal scorer last season. I think he's also behind own goals. I think he still is the top goal scorer this season. But it's interesting with Frank. He's not starting him at the moment, which again is fascinating. That's a player that he wanted, of course, when he was at Forest. Same with Archie Gray when he was, of course, as well at Leeds. So I think it's interesting. Frank sees his players every day in training. So back to the point, I'm enjoying seeing Spurs win at the moment. I'm enjoying seeing Spurs come from behind. I think we're the only team in the Premier League. I'm not sure how long this stat will last, Sav, so I better get it out now. We haven't conceded a goal in the last 15 minutes of game. So to go from a side that were conceding, let's be honest about it, 60 plus in the last couple of seasons, to a side now that really, despite the fact we are giving away chances, I can't get away from that. But as I've said, I'm not going into games thinking we're going to get battered 3 or 4 right now. I'm quite happy. And I didn't expect the manager to have all the answers after 11 games of football. I just don't think football works like that. He's clearly said as well, he was building from the back. That was phase 1. The attacking impetus will come. Now, look, the thing with Frank is, I get the feeling with him, he's a manager that wants to win at all costs. Me, I personally like that. I want to win at all costs. Ask me, I think, Sam, we do this in a year's time, whenever we do it in a 6 months' time. Let's see then, because I think that will give a better indication as to where a lot of the fans are at. Because I do think as well, we do sit here and say, for me, and you said it, it's all about winning. But I do think, we saw it under Mourinho and Conte that it gets to a point where you'd also want to see a certain brand of football. But again, this is a club that lost 22 games last season. I think fans right now are just enjoying winning. And can I just say, there's nothing wrong with that. There's also nothing wrong as well if you do want to see attacking football, but at least give the man a chance. He's been in here 11 games. 11 games, it's 11 games, with a squad that has just been put together for him and still hasn't got all the parts in place. So I would just ask for an air of calm and patience. And I just said, for me, at the end of season 1, what I want to personally see for Tottenham is a bit of identity. The same way I saw with Poch at the end of his first season, I felt with Poch going into second season, I was excited. I was confident about what I was seeing. And I have to be honest with you about it. At the end of Andy's first season, I was having a lot of question marks as to how much time he would get in the second season and when that pressure would start to become. And to be fair, look, we saw it Savva from Andy's second season, that from that Leicester game onwards, that pressure was there from day one. So let's see. I think it's early days. I am at a point where I'm really struggling for anyone right now to be criticising Thomas Frank personally when we're sitting comfortably in the top 4, navigated through that next round of the Carabao Cup, 4 points from his opening 2 Champions League games. I mean, what would it be like if we were mid-table?
What I don't get about it is this: if we look at the stats, and it's early. What I don't want to do is I don't want to be someone that goes, "Oh my God, there you go, we're third, we're finishing third," because I actually think, Ricky, that we're going to finish 6th. I think when everything levels out with injuries, number of games, I think 6th would be about right. 7th, not the end of the world. 5th would be great because it's Champions League. So what I will say though is, if I had said to you and every Spurs fan, right, on the last day of the day before the season kicked off, right? If I'd said to you, right, the first 7 games, we're going to have played 1-4, drawn 2, lost 1. We're going to be the 3rd top goal scorers in the league behind Man City and Arsenal. And we're going to have the 2nd best defense in the league behind Arsenal. We would have all bitten the relative hand off for that, right? Like we would have all bitten the hand off. And yet I'm watching shows and I'm watching shows and I'm listening and I'm going, oh yeah, and this is the one, Frank's not a winner. And you're like, hang on, what's he meant to be winning at the moment? Hang on, we're 7 games into a season. We just finished 17th, our worst ever Premier League campaign ever. Can't we at least give the manager some time? And it frustrates me, Ricky, that people can't see what he's done in such a short space of time. It frustrates me. I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Again, like you just said there, you outlined it. After 11 games, if we were going to be where we are right now, I think a lot of fans would have taken it. And I think, again, people have to remember, same as Ange last season, to be fair, he's not had his full complement of squad available to him. So I think people forget that. Again, he's operating without...
And he doesn't use it as an excuse, Rick, though, does he? Frank never, ever talks about it. He never says, but I'm missing 1, 2, 3, 4. He never does that.
Just gets on with it. Like I say, I think at the moment where fans are at, there'll be some fans that maybe didn't need to see more, which I think are fair. What I would just say to balance it out, again, I don't go to away from home. It's difficult for me with the kids, but, home games that I try and get to as many as I can and then come back and do the pod. I'd be lying if I said the home form was anywhere near good enough than what it is. But people have to remember, I think we won 3 of our last 17 games at home. So that's trying to change a mentality there at home, where, to be fair, that stadium, we've had a couple of big results there, like the Arsenal one under Conte, but we've never really felt rubber stamped it as a fortress. The same way, like White Hart Lane was in that final season under Pochettino. If we can get back to making that stadium or even in any possible way make it similar to what it was in that final season at White Hart Lane, we'd be loving it. But I just think football now, it's really hard because, look, all different types of Tottenham fans around the world, right? Everyone's got their right. And, of course, anyone's welcome to that stadium. But it just feels at the moment, it's just too nice at that stadium. White Hart Lane at times was a really difficult venue to come and play at, where you'd have the fans right on top of you. It just feels at home at the moment that teams are enjoying coming to play us there. And that's my concern in terms of how can we make that place more intimidating from a football fan perspective and make it a place where it's more wins there. And I think that's where Frank at the moment is trying to figure that out. Because, again, the home form hasn't been great. The performance at home haven't been great. And we can't, at the same time, take 20 shots and go up against oppositions at home. We've got to try and rectify that. So I think that's kind of, if you say to me, what's he got to work on? I think he's got to work on the home form, definitely. But the away form's been really encouraging. To have come back from away 3 times and got results shows there's already a mentality building here. But we're at the start of a new project. And I just, like you say at the moment, Sav, I'm the same as you. I'm I'm struggling to understand anyone that hasn't seen any kind of progression from last season to this season, and also the change in the squad, the change around the club in general. I struggle with that.
Mate, absolutely. I think it's night and day. From speaking to people who know people at the club, they're all saying as well that the players are very, very happy. Apparently, just the way Thomas Frank is with them. Apparently, he's very down.
Well, from what I heard on his first day there, he really made from what I was told, in his first few days at the club, he really got to know everyone. From again. The people that do the cooking, bless them, to the cleaners, to everyone inside the club. I think you have to remember at Brentford it was a much smaller unit there, right? So
sure.
To come to a club like Tottenham, where to be fair, I mean everyone's seen, or if they haven't seen, of course, the training ground is incredible. The stadium's incredible as well. But there's a lot of people that work inside Tottenham in comparison to Brentford, so he's having to also get used to that difference. I think that's also a big thing as well. The exposure level from going from Brentford to Tottenham is absolutely huge. For example, if you're drawing 1-1 at home to Wolves, as a Brentford fan, they might look at that and think, great, we've come back and got a point. As a Tottenham fan, and when you're drawing 1-1 at home to Wolves and Paulinho has got his shirt off in the last minute and he's celebrating, part of you is thinking, well, hold on a second, go and grab the ball and go and get the winner. And I think that's where Frank is going to learn very quickly with Tottenham fans. There's a different level of expectancy. It doesn't mean he can't grow into that, don't get me wrong. But also he's learning, he's adapting to what also the fans' expectation is. And I think as well, I'm sure we'll be covering it as well as you always do. The October-November period is going to be massive for Tottenham. The Carabao Cup involvement with Newcastle. You've got Everton, I think, the week before. Then you've got Chelsea at home. I think it's going to be a fascinating time to see where the fan base are at, because there'll be a lot of different feelings about what should be prioritised, what would be the most important thing in that week, where it's going to be impossible to please everyone. You've seen it now, right? We've just started the season, you see the difference of opinion. So I'm really happy where we are right now. I am struggling for anyone to feel otherwise. But again, look, it just shows you the world we live in now, that everyone have got different expectations and feelings as to what for them is what they feel and what they want.
I'll be honest. I just, the way I look at this, and you're absolutely right, each to their own. I look at this and go, for the last 18 months, what we saw was absolutely atrocious in the league. 22 defeats, 26 defeats in all competitions. For me, I thought that this manager needs time. Any manager, forget if it's Thomas Frank. When Thomas Frank leaves, it will be the same. Any new manager needs time. But what you do have to see is you have to see those incremental changes. And that's what we're seeing with Thomas Frank. We can defend. Ricky, we can defend. It's been years since I've been able to say Tottenham can defend as a football club. I don't go into games thinking we're just going to be ripped apart. And again, James T, my man, come on. This is not true. I'm happy that
you want to get away with something, right? I mean, look.
When you what I said at the end of the game,
if you can't win, don't get beat. If you can't win, don't get beat.
Right. If you can't win, don't get beat. Is what I said. People misconstrue that. I listen. Trolls will troll. But look, I think the direction that we're heading in. I think what people need to remember as well. Do you want a manager to come in and build something over a number of years, or do you want someone that comes in and we have a reactionary change? And I think this is where a lot of people, I saw people last night on podcasts comparing, well, look at Angie's first 10 games. And I'm thinking, no, you can't judge 10 games, because on 10 games, look what happened afterwards. It's not sustainable. We need to judge what are we building. And with this guy, I'm not saying he will be the guy. Maybe he has 3 years, builds, and then someone else comes in. I don't know. But I feel safe. I don't know. That sounds really silly. I feel safe as a Spurs fan that Thomas Frank is running the show. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah. I mean, look, again, we have to remember this is a big step up for Thomas Frank. Massive step up for Thomas Frank. He's in territory that he's not been in before. Every result at Tottenham, as we know on the internet, is analysed to the absolute 8th degree. And it just isn't the same as what it is at Brentford. He's gone from having 10 people in a room at the press conferences to suddenly 20, 30 that are be asking him questions that he might think, well, I was never asked that at Brentford. But that is what comes with the Tottenham job. It's completely different. And, it's intriguing to see how this is going to play out this season. I mean, I'm the same as you, Savva. I think if Tottenham get in the top 6, I think it's been a really, really good season in general. I know people want a cup. Like, I get that. You know, if you said to me, and I got to stick on this, I said it on Sky actually, that I said, if Thomas Frank got in the top 10 and won a Carabao Cup, I thought that'd be a great season. I had some disagree with me on that. I'm thinking, well, hold on a second. If he wins a Carabao Cup or wins a cup in his first season, he's carrying on that cup winning feeling, and he's got Spurs back up the table. So it just shows you how different football fans think and what everyone thinks that's being successful. But look, if you said to me, you know, we're even talking about top 4 right now, given what we were going through last season, I would have thought, we're crazy. You know, we're conceding goals for fun, you know, the way we're structured and set up. It just feels at the moment, like you said, I feel that we are that word safe under Frank. And look, I get the word safe isn't for everyone because some want to see more chaotic football. Look, some Spurs fans want to win 4-3 than 1-0. I get that. But I am enjoying at the moment, I've got to find Woody to touch, that are, you know, the most comedic own goals or the comedic goals that we're seeing at the moment or seeing previously, we're not defending that way. And it just feels like there's a real structure with regards to that defence. And that's the one thing with Vicario, no disrespect to him, it really does stick out when you've got someone that's quite erratic and the back four in front of him are quite calm and composed when you can see it isolated to one person. And look, as I said, I think Vicario's got a great mentality. My worry with Vicario is that we're in the 3rd season right now, and I'm not sure he gets any better. And that'll be my worry.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. By the way, I've always used the same line with Vicario. Decent keeper, no more, no less. I don't think he is a huge problem. I also don't think that I don't think he's great. I just think that teams that go on to do really well don't have Vicarios in goal. Now, people can take that how they want, but you look down the years of the teams that have won league titles, I can't think of many, if any, that have had a goalkeeper that poor. But look, for me, I think one of the key things you said in the last 10 minutes, Rick, was you have to remember that to play a certain way, you've got to have certain skill sets within your players, right? And when lots of people are like, oh, well, we don't play possession, keep ball, really attacking football. Well, sure. But you haven't got one midfielder in the club who's a possession-based number 8 that controls the game. You don't have a left winger that can play that way, and you don't have a centre forward that can hold the ball up. But fans go, let's see it. So I think we've got a manager that's playing to his strengths. He's realised he started at the back. Let's be hard to beat. The back four's been magnificent. Paulinho, let's put that in and make that solid. I think when you get Maddison back, when you get Kulu back, you get a proper left winger, you get a centre forward. I think we're going to see a lot better football. I think we've seen signs of it. Kudus and Xavi.
I thought the Man City game was a really good game. We were Man City, we were front foot against Man City. And we're trying to score the 3rd or the 4th goal. I just think he felt at Leeds, for example, Leeds is a ground where the fans are so on top of you. Look, the reality with Leeds, let's be honest about it, Sav, if he brings on Danzo and does what he does and they nick a point, we're all sitting here going, Frank's gone too defensive. He's got the result, but that's football. That shows you how fine margins it is and how difficult it is in the Premier League to get results. He's getting them right now. And I also said this, that sometimes it's good to have a lucky manager than an unlucky manager. And I'm not saying Frank has been lucky, but there's been elements to his game where maybe the hard work is paying off for what's going on in training. And again, I just feel at the moment that I'm excited to go into the next set of games. I mean, I'm sure you're the same. I'm quite excited to come back round to the next set of fixtures, whereas sometimes with an international break, you thought, God, this come at a good time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And by the way, listen, everyone knows I'm a massive fan of Frank. And what happens is every time Spurs don't win a game, then people come for me. And I think to myself, first and foremost, this is our manager. This is our manager, right? Second of all, right, I don't at any point expect Spurs to not lose games. We're going to lose games. Right? Liverpool
Man City lose games. Liverpool just lost 2 in a row in the 96th minute. The teams are going to lose games.
Right. Yeah. Liverpool have lost 3 games in a row in all competitions. Frank's lost 1 in 11, and we've got fans going, I'm not sure, you know.
I have to make you laugh very quickly on this, Sam. I just saw a tweet from, I think, the Anfield Talk podcast, and I think it came on the weekend where they went, I'm trusting Slot to get us out of this mess. And I'm thinking, is that what a mess is when you've lost 2 games in a row at Liverpool? That's a crisis. God. I was thinking, this is what we've come to now. Crazy. I
wish we were in a mess having just won a league title and sitting second in the table.
100 million on the transfer window.
It's madness. I'm seeing Bournemouth fans going, yeah, good start to the season, should have been better. And I'm like, what? I'm seeing Palace fans last week going, Glasner got it wrong. You've just gone 19 unbeaten.
Yeah. This is the world we live in now. I think social media Look, you see it now. I mean, whether people think it's wrong or right, even with Ange, for example, Ange has been at Forest for 5 minutes, and I know he's had again a crazy run of results, and probably Wolf is your man to cover that aspect, which you have him on here.
Love it. Love it.
But yeah, it's mad. Like, this is where we live in now, where you don't win in 6 games and suddenly the manager's got to go. But that's I mean, football's become like that now. It's become a very reactionary sport, and I suppose me and you don't really help that because we obviously do analyse every single moment, every single game, and every single thing that happens. We're here to bring it to the fans. So
what I do try to do though, Rick, is I try not to change my mind every week on every player, on every manager. Like literally, once my mind was made up on Ange, my mind was made up.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Younger players, they can mould and adapt.
Of course they can. Yeah.
Look, I want to do a couple of super chats, and we are going to end the show in the next 90 seconds or so. But what I would say is, I do feel like with some of the fan base, it feels like they're waiting for us to lose so they can have a dig. Like I'm seeing people say things like we've not played anyone yet. Well, I mean, we've played Leeds away, who haven't lost at home for 14 months. We've played Brighton away. We never win there. We haven't won at West Ham. We just won at West Ham. We haven't won there for 7 seasons. Man City away. I don't care if you call them a bogey team. It's still Manchester City away.
Yeah. Of course it is.
And we've got the best away form in the Premier League. And people are going, we haven't played anyone yet. What? What do you
I'll tell you what. We'll do this again. We'll do this again on the next international break, and let's see where we're at. Because I think
we will do.
We'll see what October, November will be interesting for sure.
Absolutely. Look, let me just do a couple of quick super chats, then we'll end. Big up to Machina Joe, my resident Everton fan that's always in here. I loved our Haaland debate the other week. Very, very interesting. Big up to you, Machina Joe. And again, just with a smiley face or a crying face. Save these for Wolfie, the crying faces. He loves it. Big up again, Machina Joe, with a third one. Thank you very much. Very generous, my man. Big up to Eureka Johnson with the super sticker. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate you. And also Dean Law, who's always in here starting the super sticker train. Really appreciate you, Dean, as well. Thank you for all your generosity. Please get over and subscribe to Ricky. His channel is, 40K is the next mark for you, is it, Rick? You're getting towards the 40K.
I'll be honest, Sav, you know what? I'm always, I know you're Sam as well. I'm just so grateful for all the support we get over there. Look, it's lovely because, we started off podcasting about 10 years ago, and we transitioned, of course, to YouTube. So I've never really looked at the whole thing about the amount of subscribers and stuff. We've been very lucky that we've had we've got a really loyal audience that have stayed with us through the good times, the bad times, the tricky times, the hard times, and we're just really thankful to have such a really loyal audience that have always been so supportive. And I've got to say again, because you've got a lot of people in your obviously show here that listen and watch Last Word On Spurs. So I always say, guys, thanks so much for all the support. I've got to say, last season, if it wasn't for those hugs on the streets I was getting, my wife was going, why'd you keep letting random men come up and hugging you? We were going through tough times last season. So I'm lucky that I get a lot of love from the Spurs fans. They're brilliant, to be fair. And again, like you said, we're not going to always agree on everything, but at the same time, I do see a lot more happy faces than I did see last season. And look, long may that continue. And yeah, like you said, Savva, on so many different shows, I always say to people, you can fight the argument, but don't fight the people that giving us the great content that we get on YouTube. Because to be fair, Spurs fans, as we know, we've had a traumatising time of it. So right now, like you said, it's quite nice coming on here where we're not in a crisis, but keep an eye on things. It's Tottenham, so you never quite know what's around the corner, right?
Mate, absolutely. Listen, things could fall apart, but listen, Villa up next. Who knows what's going to happen? They're on a resurgence. We need to turn our home form around. Should be good. Listen, please get over, subscribe to Ricky. Thank you very much for your time, Rick. I'll let you get back to your day. Guys and girls, I've just redirected you all over to Never a Foul. When you get over there, just type in Savva Raid. I'm sure they're debating or cooking somebody, which is the YouTube thing to do, isn't it? So join in, have fun, say Savva Raid. But as always, come on, you Spurs.